Okay, I will call the February 8th meeting of the Trees and Greenery Committee to order. And I did not realize this, that our meetings are broadcast live. I guess maybe I'm only in the city didn't know that, but I think that maybe I should be a little more formal and have all the members of the committee introduce themselves so that the vast audience will have a chance to know who we are. If anyone cares. Shall we?
Okay, Pat Bagley.
That's Shad.
Peter Lachlan.
Max Leader.
AJ Dupree, Michael Griffin,
Peter Rice.
Okay, thank you all very much. We have the minutes from the January 11th meeting. I'm sure. Move to accept. Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, tree removal requests, community campus, 3 ash trees. Thanks.
Yeah, so these are 3 ash trees in front of the community campus to the left of the main entrance. Completely shot through with woodpecker holes and exit wounds, so suggesting that it's an EAV infestation. Yeah, just figured because of the location, it should be important to post these and get them removed as soon as possible.
Okay, any questions about those trees and replacing campus?
Eventually, yeah, we will replace them, not with ash though. Yeah, maybe not necessarily with this year's planting because most of our trees have been allotted already, but certainly within the next couple of years it's planted.
what were the trees?
They're relatively small. I couldn't really tell you, but maybe 25 years at the most, I would say. Yeah.
Are the rest of those ash trees in that area, would they go to?
I am willing to bet they will, yes, eventually. We're looking mostly for those, obviously those exit holes of the boring insects, and then woodpecker holes are also sure tell signs because they're obviously feeding on everything that's in there. But we're also now's a great time to start looking for that sort of blonding effect that occurs on bark. And we often see it maybe in the upper portions of the ground first, and they slowly make their way down, and it covers the entire tree. So now's a good time, and we're just kind of going across the city looking for these, and we'll address each tree as they come up to us.
Any questions for Max? Do we have a motion to recommend?
So moved. I'd just like to speak to the motion. Once it's seconded.
Michael second.
Second. The community campus has been managed by the nonprofit trust for 20+ years. And this is really an opportunity. Then their focus was not management of the urban forest. So having Max and our staff being able to spend more time out there and take care of these trees, it's a really nice area for people to enjoy walking in the woods. And this is, we're happy that we're able to do this. So I'm glad that Max's crew was able to get out there and start paying some attention to a really nice asset for the city.
And we can see all the trees that are pruned.
Yeah, we spent about 2 weeks, obviously between other projects and focusing primarily on the road clearance, but we spent quite a bit of time cleaning up the parking lots, the roads in and out of the community campus. So it needed a little bit of work and continues to need some. So
Was that a project of the Arbor Day? The pruning, was that done?
I believe that was quite a few years ago.
4 years ago, I was association can't play on
Which is that, AJ?
it was that Seacoast Arborist Collaborative. Warren had started a long time ago, and then Chuck worked as a Seacoast Arborist, and they sort of go around. So they're in Langdon Park years ago,
Oh, great.
and they get together. It's a local sort of smaller operators that get together around Arbor Day. Site. So community campus. Such a time.
About 5 years ago, yeah.
Don't come to them.
Yeah.
So we have a motion to recommend removal. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Public library.
So this came up as a request from some of the facilities supervisors. There's a birch in a planting box that is causing some issue with so it's a bench and then a big planter, and sort of assuming at this point too, that there may be some damage on the structure, the building side too, just from this tree as it is maturing, it's starting to push and heave certain aspects that we want to, yeah, so we just like to remove this tree and keep it from causing any more damage, and hopefully we can get that repaired.
Any questions for Max?
Well, how long has that tree been there? And
Since the library was built.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I mean, it was really a poor choice location.
I was aiming for that, you know,
You know, we should not be planting trees in the land like that.
it's such a beauty, and architecturally, when it lights up at night,
It's great,
it's just.
But we have a very valuable building and we are
I'm
not.
just gonna go on saying, we're smarter now. I know it's been an all evolving committee with arborists, and this was a bummer.
Yeah, I think probably the intent was to cut it down probably 5 years ago and plant another one. Just, you know, not have it intended to grow much larger. So it is, I agree, it is nice. We will work to replace with something equally as attractive. But it's not a good place to be planting.
Yeah. Would this be a possibility for one of our 100th plant legacy planting, or is that too small of a space, or would this be the greenery moment? I always wonder about tree and greenery.
I would encourage you to think greenery on this one.
Oh, I would love to think greenery. I always questioning greenery. Okay.
I saw the tree and I was troubled by removing it. We, a number of years ago, the North Church wanted a tree next to it removed, and we were rather reluctant to do that. And they said, well, it's causing problems, and we weren't convinced that it was. And I just don't want it to be a precedent that it's a tree and planter downtown, someplace, oh, it's too big for that location. I'm probably not being very rational and being concerned about taking down a very healthy tree in a very visible location. That's one vote. Do we have a motion to recommend removal?
I move to recommend removal.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? I'll call all in favor. Peter.
Pretty long, bit long.
Super reluctantly, and I like to just bring this like forward as a learning vote. As long as we learn from this vote, then I would support this.
I guess that motion passes. Okay, behind 280 South Street, and Ms. Terry.
I'm here.
Which one?
Good morning. I'm Susan Sterry. I do live on Broad Street. However, I'm here as co-chair of the cemetery committee. And I brought a brief presentation. This is Hall Cemetery. It's located on your map that I gave you, where the dark part is filled in, is the actual cemetery. And that right of way is 16 feet wide. Max and I measured it. So it's not very wide, but it's there, 16 feet wide. We are requesting that we can have, well, I should show you what we're requesting. So that's the actual cemetery part of it. It should just click over.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the case. There we go, but I'm not sure. Hold on, let me make sure I'm sharing so that people can see online.
Any idea when the last person would have been?
Yeah, 18 something. I have it here.
Assistant Mayor Kelly, can you see the photos?
I can, Peter. Yes, thank you.
I think the last one was 1820 and it's 1735 for the first one. It is a colonial cemetery. I did bring a copy, or not a copy, it's the actual map. You can locate the cemetery on a map as far back as 1850. It's clearly marked. I did find another map from 1813, but to blow it up to just get that section to show that the map, the cemetery was acknowledged even back then, you would have been able to see it anyway. But if anybody's curious, it is marked on this 1850 map. In this cemetery, there are 3 Revolutionary soldiers. There are 4 DAR women, which means their husbands fought in the war. There are 3 or 4 captains that were on privateers that worked during the Revolutionary War. And some of those privateers or captains, not the captains, but like Peter Shore, probably served on the ship Raleigh, which is on our state flag. So there's a lot of history sitting up in here. It shouldn't be ignored. So the cemetery, plus there's an RSA at the state that says all cemeteries, even if it's on private property, this case it's not, and we do have a right of way, but the city is responsible, or the community is responsible for keeping the access to these cemeteries clear. So family members can come down in here or whoever, but mostly family members. Why it was written.
Sue, could I just interrupt for a second? So this is a family cemetery?
Well,
Or
it
is
was,
it a city cemetery?
it's a city cemetery. It started out as the Hall of Family, but over the years, the city has maintained it, and I have a copy of the tax record from the city where it says that Portsmouth owns the cemetery.
Okay, so at some point, originally it was a family cemetery.
Right, back in 17.
It belonged to one of these properties, I assume?
It doesn't belong to either one. This gray house right here is Petra's house.
No, I mean originally.
Oh, well, yeah, somebody,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. And when the city acquired-
Yes, we acquired it, so.
If it was a private cemetery on, not affected by the city or whatever else, then only the people that are related to those folks would have rights to access that type of cemetery.
Okay, thank
So
you.
they
Yeah,
have-
that makes sense.
So a private cemetery, anybody bloodline, can access that cemetery. If the city took it, adopted it, bought it, whatever, or if it's part of a nonprofit group, that's publicly accessible cemetery.
Okay, thank you.
So there's a couple of different RSA's that get on that.
So this is 280 on the right hand side, and yeah, sorry, my slide when they go by when I took the pictures. So this is the cemetery, what it looks like now. So, and another view. This is right next in the middle of the right of way that goes to the cemetery. I don't, what kind of trees did you say they were?
It's.
Mix of whatever.
Yeah, it's,
So that goes down quite a ways, and this is just street view, and I think the next one shows the view from the backside. No, that's there. So that is coming from the cemetery out. That's part of the brambles that are blocking. You really can't get down in there. You have to hike and go over and under and all those sorts of things. And there is also a big bramble patch right in the middle of the cemetery. And we are asking to have, if we can go back to a cemetery picture, have some of the trees cut down in the cemetery, because like that one right there is dead. But most of them are over 4 inches. And if they come down, they're gonna break. The headstones, even worse. I do have a picture that was on the tax map that, and it doesn't say how old the picture is, but it shows this view. And there were absolutely no headstones that were broken. I'm willing to bet it was taken back in 1970s or even the 80s. So, I mean, we've gone to a lot of damage in the last 50 years So that's what we're requesting, that we have permission to clear this right of way and clear the trees. Not all of them, just the ones that are either up against a headstone or, well, basically that would be the only reason that we take it down. So they cause damage to the headstones eventually, so from the roots, and then also, possibility of something falling and breaking another headstone, so.
Can I ask a question about the process?
Yeah.
Usually we're asked to approve or not approve trees that are marked. So this is like a blanket approval.
I think that was a little bit of a mix up, that when I got the report, or actually Max prepared it. And I think that the idea was that, we weren't asking for specific removals, but it was and it doesn't appear this way on the agenda, but it's this was an informational thing, and then the relevant trees that would have to be removed would be tagged.
Right,
Correct.
yes. Yeah, well, there are a lot of trees that will come down, but there are also trees that go along the path that belong to the property on the left-hand side. So those trees wouldn't be coming down, so it's not gonna be a clear cut all the way through as far as all the trees that you can see there. But there are a lot, probably about 25 trees that need to come down.
So we'll come back at the next meeting or the subsequent meeting and have Max would tag trees.
So what are we voting? I mean, I don't get.
Well,
what we're
it's
doing.
not necessarily a vote at this point for any particular trees. This was just to get this initiative into our spotlight and discussing the potential for this project to go through, and not voting on any one particular tree, because Ms. Derry is going to be contracting out a lot of this work. So before she can make any commitments to them, it would make sense to bring this to the committee, see where we're at, and see whether or not it'd be something we should move forward with. After which, taking away all the 4-inch or less trees, then we would have something to post and bring it to you.
Would this be one of those situations perhaps that we would do a site walk as a committee? I'm talking to Mr. Lockwood. Chair. It just seems a little more complicated.
Yeah.
It's narrow between two homes that do, I did, Ms. Huda took me back into, I knocked on her door because I didn't really know. I didn't want to go looking around, and it was the easement was not, I didn't have this map, so I really couldn't tell what was going on. And it seems a little complicated, and it would be nice to do it as a group perhaps.
Yeah, I've already walked it myself, and there are brambles, and there's definitely clearing that would make it user friendly, but I'm not comfortable giving any kind of approval to a project. I don't even really understand what the project is.
But I think there was some mix up originally. It was on the list, and then Max clarified it that no, this was informational, but when I put the final agenda together, really didn't come across very clearly. But anyway, yeah, and I bet we're here for public hearings. Public also.
We also have,
Right up, please. Oh, I actually like the 5 mics over there, I think,
Yeah, come have a seat so we can
please.
Mr. Huda, I'm a property owner at 280 South Street. First of all, I agree totally with a site walk on this property. I'd like to give you some history on how many times the trees and greenery people and the your tree people have been out to adjust the trees on that property. When we first moved there, we cut down all the trees on both sides. We have no trees in our yard. The trees that are there are old. And the right of way, I don't know if you could tell on the map, but it's probably 16 feet.
Yeah.
At the cemetery, but as it comes up past the garage, it goes out. So there's an old, I believe it's a maple there that, we have been, trying to keep healthy for a number of years. The trees people have been out twice to trim that. It's a very old tree and, I would hate to see anything happen to that. Also, the second time we had, the people come out, they had just got their bucket. Colin was all excited about going over the, our garage. They trimmed stuff back there. But the request was for, an older elm in the back and, they didn't want to trim it. Basically, he told me that, there are very few elms left. This was a healthy tree and, they just did what they could from the ground because there was no access back there to get into that. Bottom line here, I would be more than happy to have a path trimmed to the cemetery. But if this is about clear cutting, I am totally against that. There's a lot of healthy trees in there that there's no reason to take them down. The other thing I might offer forward is there is a line of trees that have grown up along the stone wall in the back. There's a stone wall that surrounds the cemetery. And these trees are inside of the cemetery. I don't know how you would get equipment back in there, but on the other side, the people off of Brackett have basically clear cut everything from Brackett up the hill to the cemetery. And there is access in there. The people on both sides of that access have had real heavy equipment come in and actually trim the trees there. And if you ask permission, I'm sure they would allow you to get your big equipment in there so you can get those trees out of there. But as far as taking out and clear cutting all the trees in there, I would be happy if you clean this up. According to what I'm reading from the family cemetery, this has not been done since 1983. And there's the healthy trees. I really have a hard time with that. Taking out all of the invasives and cleaning up and making a nice path to go back there would be fine. The other questions I would have that complicate this are when the city put in the bump outs on South Street at the bottom of Mount Vernon there, they adjusted the property lines. So when you look at the pictures that are on there like this, my property line comes out. It's kind of complicated by where the easement actually is. And as you can see, we have a fire hydrant there and the driveway to the next door is right next door. So a concern for myself and my neighbor is how would people be accessing this and would this be maintained? As far as coming down private property to go to this is a problem. So that would be the questions that I would have that I would like answered before any type of cutting comes down. And I think it would definitely benefit this committee to come and take a look at what is there. Because the trees, especially that maple is they're very old and we've been struggling to keep it healthy and cleaned out because they did overshadow the house. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I didn't point out that this committee has a history of being very reluctant to cut any trees down. And so I'm really share your concern about protecting as many trees as possible. So thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I just, Kim Schroeder, also 280 South Street. There's just a couple of things that I wanted to add because I have a few concerns. Like Peter, I think it would be great to clean the cemetery out and have some kind of a footpath access. Some of the concerns, this is a much better shot, actually, a point that Vicky made that I wanted to clarify. It's really hard to see where the easement begins because it's sort of deceptive, but it actually, the driveway for 272, the houses across there, that driveway is in the easement. The easement lines back a little differently than what some of those shots are showing. It looks like it goes right down the green path, but that's not actually the case. It actually is in that driveway and goes at a different angle. Just so when you're looking at it, or if you go out into the sidewalk, you have a maybe a little more reference. And when she was first speaking about the trees in the back and ours, I think you used the term cut. But we had trimmed, we didn't actually remove any trees from our yard, it was trimming all the stuff that overgrows into our yard in the back. The concerns, along with what Petra said, that I have also, because it has been like 4 or 5 decades that anything has been done back there, the trees and the growth are actually providing habitat. There's all kinds of animals back there that use that. I mean, I've seen New England cottontails, possum, raccoon, there's all kinds of animals back there. So the fact that it hasn't been done for so long has allowed that to grow into, kind of a refuge for habitat and that. Also, there is a lot of wet area back there, and all of the trees and all of that brush and that, I think, help absorb some of that from the different houses. There's a lot of drainage down the back. I think right behind 270, the bigger house, as you get down the walking path that goes to the school, that's a big wetland area. So I don't know how much that would affect that, but that would be something that would concern me as far as the amount of trees that are removed. So those are some of the things that concern me. So I agree. I think it would be great if you guys did the sidewalk and kind of kept some of those things in mind. Look at it. And I would like to, I know it's not part of this committee, but the plan for what's being done with the cemetery, is this a one-time project? That since it hasn't been maintained for so long, is this going to be go in and clear it out and then nothing happens again for another?
No, the mission of the cemetery committee is to bring all 8 historic cemeteries up to good standards. There are a lot of crumbling buildings. We're gonna fix headstones, straighten them, things like that. So when we're done with all of them, that it'll be easy for the city to maintain all 8 cemeteries because they've gotten out of control, so they'll be able to keep up with repair. No, the goal is to bring it up to standards so that it's easy for the city to maintain going forward.
Okay, so there is a plan for it to be maintained to then keep the,
Yeah, absolutely.
okay, that's great.
And I,
I wanted to ask. For the 16-foot, 20, I guess it's 16-foot, I don't know, it's a strip, I don't know if the city owns it or whether it's a right of way, but whatever it is, where is it on that? If you,
Peter, if you go forward to the pit, you can, if you walk down the street just a little bit, you can see a better angle of it. Sorry, the other way.
The other way?
Yeah.
I can also pull up the tax map too.
Yeah, look kind of right. Now you can see it. There's sort of a tunnel down through there.
Yeah.
It's like a blue thing.
okay.
It's hard to find.
Yeah, it's hard to find and because of the way the driveways come out, you really can't tell, but it is really kind of a shot, I think, straight down through there.
So it actually, the right of way of strip of land includes that, it goes over that driveway,
Yeah, it
and
does.
that driveway is to your home.
No, it's the house next door.
For 280.
We're 280 and our driveway is completely on
Okay,
our property side. It's the other driveway.
Yeah, I'd suggest boots.
Yeah.
well,
It is very moist back there.
The brambles are prickly.
So that's shown as a right of way or the road right of way, Peter.
I think tell on the tax map whether it was a right of way or.
It's an easement. It's a city easement.
Well, Yep. I mean, it doesn't show up, on the other people's
Very often right
property.
of ways don't show up on the tax map, so. Maybe we can.
See that line.
I
Yeah.
spoke to Bob Sullivan about it. It belongs to the city.
It's a strip actually owned by the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you click on, yeah. Nothing. Oh,
And as Petra said,
Or is it,
yeah,
people have requested to have it maintained. It's been hard.
it's such a close proximity to Brackett. I mean, I mean, you can see it from there. It's a clear,
yeah.
you know, it's not, you don't have all the.
You can see the
Trees
green there
and-
next to that house.
Yeah.
That was just done.
If I could just add, the intention never, I guess we came across wrong. The intention was never to cut down every single tree. There are clusters of trees that grow together down there, but anything like the older tree that you're talking about, there's another one down back. There's another one that Max and I looked at. No, I mean, that's not the intention. The intention is to get rid of the trees that are definitely blocking in that 16-foot right of way, to get those out of the way. And a couple of those trees are in that section, but they don't need to be cut down so that people can get down back. And also, when we looked at it, it looks like it's the whole thing, but it's not. It's a very narrow section, and there are still a lot of trees growing down right next to it. So it's not gonna be like all of a sudden there's gonna be this big wide open, space that where trees used to, provide shade and things like that. That's not the intention. It's just to make it a safe and clear pathway down into the cemetery.
So it's
Just to reassure everybody, yeah.
So the intention is to clear the path so residents or anyone can walk back there. It's not to clear it so you can get back there.
No,
I think we should use the verbiage open the path as opposed to clear, because that suggests a 16-foot just complete
No.
clear cutting as has been said.
A lot of trees and.
Well, so a lot of them are smaller than what needs to be brought to the committee. So for what it's worth,
Oh, okay.
it's the brush, it's smaller sapling trees, and then a lot of those maples in there are Norway maples, which are very undesirable trees. Obviously, it is a tree for what it's worth, but these ones are growing through fences at your property, so those are things that I think need to be addressed as well, because they are multi-stem, they're relatively weak. If they will split now, could split in the future, so it's just an argument of.
and it's also not, that includes trees inside the cemetery. There's probably 10 inside the cemetery,
Yeah,
3 or 4 which are dead. So
yes.
that, that estimate of 20 trees sounds like a lot, but
And do those trees that are in the cemetery, they come in front of this committee again? Do we look at those?
no,
trees that are in
it's
the
the
cemetery?
whole project.
But you need to say you
Yeah, let's do it.
tag what needs to be tagged,
Fine,
and
we'll go from there.
we need a site walk and a site.
Correct.
Well, what I'm requesting is that the city come in, or how are they gonna do it, and survey so that we actually know where the 16-foot right of way is, and then go down through, as Max said, and mark the trees that we would like to come out for whatever reason. And that includes in the cemetery,
I'm in Trim Greenery.
and
That's-
and start from there. Just to see exactly what it is.
Well, yes, I think this is, oh, sorry, a good note.
So my request would be, before we do anything, I would like this committee to come down and see the marked trees and what they're gonna take out. The concern is trying to get equipment down in there, because there is no way to get all the equipment that they need and all the bucket trucks and everything back down in a 16-foot.
But didn't you say the intent though was not to clear that for, it was just to open it up? They stated that.
That's fine, but even coming in from the front to trim those junk trees is gonna be hard.
Just to put it up, if the city is not doing this, the contractors are doing this work,
That's a bigger concern.
there's many bucket trucks that will fit in a spot that's the size of this table. So they're tracked bucket trucks to sneak in the back, little areas. So they've got 100-foot bucket trucks that will go through a 4-foot line gate. And then they set up, very large legs so you can get up in the air, so you can sneak. You can make a 6-foot path and get a bucket truck all the way to the cemetery, then set up in the cemetery and do that work. So there's ways to use off-road equipment in areas like this.
I would guess that a lot of the stuff is you're just gonna do by hand.
No.
The lower stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right.
That was my impression as well, but so I'm just imagining a scenario where we didn't present this to the Trees and Greenery Committee. And Sue and the Portsmouth Historic Cemetery Committee brought in these contractors. What kind of reaction would that have garnered from the public? So we're really just presenting this to you all to get ideas, flesh out this project, to see how feasible it is. It's not, we didn't post anything because there's nothing to remove at this point.
Right.
We're here to just present this idea that she brought to me. And meeting on the ground sounds like a perfect idea, so everybody's on the same page. There's little confusion after that, hopefully. Yeah, it was just to present this idea. I think we would all benefit from having some work done through there, and especially the cemetery. I think it's important to highlight the historical portions of our city that make it really important, so.
If we did this walkthrough, could you identify the trees that should come out?
Yeah, I think it's gonna depend on, oh, yeah, of course, but I think it's also gonna depend on, again, maybe we're brainstorming this now, but the scope of this project overall, so are we putting in a crusher on path, is it just gonna be cleared out? And that comes down to the budget of the committee, it comes down to resources that.
So just to clarify, the committee doesn't have a budget. The city has a budget for maintenance of historic cemeteries. There is a request in to allocate some of those resources towards this project. It's an appropriate use of the monies. It is associated with maintenance of historic cemeteries. The first thing that we need to do is establish a boundary survey so that we clearly identify what trees are ours and what trees are others. So we'll do that first, I would suggest, before we do a sidewalk. So that may take, given the time of year, given, fortunately, there's no snow coverage really right now. Surveyors can get out there relatively easily. So I would hope that we get identify somebody to get that done in the next month. But I would say, that's the first order of business, is to get that, and then, prior to our sidewalk, Max could go through and identify with Sue some of the trees that they suggested be taken down. So I would say, this isn't going to be immediate. We need to get the survey done first, and then we'll go out, mark the trees, and then set up a meeting. I would assume it would probably be March sometime. So that's fine.
That seems very sensible.
Yeah.
Right, again, we,
Serves everyone.
yes,
Okay,
again, it was just Max and I, we're just getting this going, so.
thank you for this informational moment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Well, there's an awkward dynamic between committees and budget, because committees do not have money allocated to them or appropriated to them, so it is a dynamic.
And I'm very conscious,
Yes.
time, we probably had to wait till the survey is done. And probably set the meeting, set the site visit at our March meeting. And I point out that thanks to the inquiry that Deb made, I went online to look at information about, of course, 400, but I also looked on about the cemeteries. So what the cemetery community is doing, and rebuilding these vaults and painting the stones, and I thought that I was unaware of much of that, and when I see something like that, I was thinking, it's really neat that people care about it and take the time, volunteers, and do these things.
Yeah, it's a
And,
lot of
I
hard work.
appreciate that.
A lot of hard work and dedication.
And you see, just, Mr. Chairman, if you see the neglect that unintentionally occurred because there wasn't that focus, that group of interested residents. So we're very fortunate to have the committee. Sue's doing a great job, gently, keeping a hand on our back,
Yes.
to make sure we're moving forward.
Sometimes not.
Um,
Always have a smile.
Yeah, no, it's been great to work with, and we're really fortunate to have the committee helping move this forward, so.
And we don't, as a committee, we don't, or even personally, we want what the community wants, we're just bringing it forward so that, and help make it happen.
I really appreciate it.
Very much appreciate it.
Thank you, yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think Daniel Patrick Moynihan referred to it as a 9.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've delayed it as long as we can to keep Robbie waiting. We have 9 Kent Street. Thank you very much. Okay.
Okay.
Bobby Woodburn of Woodburn Landscaping and Landscape Architects, and Bobby's one of Robert's last projects was the St. Patrick's School parking lot. And and something booming from April to November. And anyway,
So 9 Kent is on the corner of Kent and Rockland. It's owned by Cynthia and Peter Smith. They plan to, remove and replace their existing home, and as part of that, to provide a garage underneath the structure. Right now, there is a, shed / garage structure in the backyard that is not accessible, it's not a driveway. So, and if you're familiar with the neighborhood, you know that the parking is at a premium, so they felt that as part of the renovation or replacement of this structure, that they would put a garage underneath. So we have the plan you have in front of you is the existing condition plan, more or less. There's a couple trees missing, but I can talk about those. And it shows the approximate location of where we're thinking of this driveway coming off the Rockland Street stub and going down underneath the building. There are 2 trees there, one of which is a city tree. It's a brand new tree. I don't think it planted last year.
2021.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just right in the holes, you know. I believe it's a sweet gum, and then the other tree is an apple that's on the property, which when I was there photographing it, it was full of apples, but it is where we need to put this driveway. So the thought would be that because it's where the driveway is, the city tree has got to either be moved or replaced. And I think Max felt that, yeah, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you felt you could transplant it.
Yeah, so we think we can just transplant this and move it to just maybe the park that's right down there, so. And according to what is suggested here, we'll be planting, or two sweet gum will be planted.
Yeah.
In the same, or in roughly the same right of way location, where this sweet gum currently is.
Peter, I just emailed you a picture of both those trees. I don't know if you can access your email. It's the existing new gum is right to the right of those steps right there. And it's literally 2 inches in caliber, maybe 2.5.
Yeah.
So it should pop right up easily, and then we'll replace and kind it, but we'll need one to replace the apple and one to replace that. So, and that's the total. Easy.
Well, 2 for 1, I kind of like that.
Well, the time frame is we're in design. We are going to TAC on next Tuesday to discuss the driveway, and then we need to go to zoning for several variances. So it's out there yet.
Ideally for this, for Max, is to move it, obviously, the equipment break.
Yeah.
So could we still do that when this is going through this whole, should we still do that when this is going through the process? I don't understand the rest of the politics behind doing this outward.
So if we make it through TAC, quickly.
Yeah.
Then we'll go to zoning. So TAC is in March, zoning would be in April. That's optimistic, right?
Okay.
And then we would know zoning's
So,
probably gonna be
Robbie,
ready.
I'm just out of curiosity, why is this going to tackle?
The driveway.
The driveway's driving because it's not a conforming driveway, it's the second driveway, because it's.
You were talking to the wrong person on that one. We met with Nick. Nick advised that in order to be ready for this variance, that we get our ducks in a row, either be the driveway and the.
Okay.
And the
So there's a variance being requested
There are
to create this driveway. All right, it seems odd to me that this even requires a variance.
No, the driveway doesn't require a variance. Many other things on the property require a variance, but the driveway is one of the things that
Got it.
it's.
I'm sorry, it's
No,
not really.
No.
When I saw when I was running from the parking lot, I said, what are you doing here?
This Nick,
Because it's.
when the planner
it's
tells
not
us to do
really
something, we do.
a single family home, you don't need to go to site
Yeah.
review, but
And if it's a driveway, driveways,
planning director, I think, is giving this advice in terms of. They want to seek variant relief, and I think they're trying to create a situation where Board of Adjustment can see, yeah, this is gonna be better, this will be good. And so I don't see any reason why the tree couldn't be moved.
I was getting at, independent of that, because if you get stalled and you're along the way, you're gonna say, move the tree, and it's July.
Right,
That's a good,
exactly.
That's we're moving it right to the park.
Yeah, we'll
So be it.
ideally do it before, fingers crossed, we have time to do it before our 200 planting operations this
Yeah.
spring.
As far as the.
There are, yes, there will be.
As far as the tree committee is concerned, the sweet gum can be moved. Now,
These trees wouldn't be
Well,
planted
not
until
now,
later.
but
in
it's
the
Yes.
summer.
not actually. So.
This is the
Yeah.
existing tree.
Appropriate to
We would put these in way after this whole project's like up.
Where you gonna?
In the park. Just pick it across the street.
Can it go in the landscape strip between the sidewalk and the street?
There are 2 trees there already.
Oh, there are.
Those don't show on the survey. Since
We also planted two trees out front.
Right.
Yeah,
That's right.
planted a lot of kind, so.
The bunch of them, the whole strip we took, used over there years ago, where the hillside.
Yeah.
So we did a bunch of work.
Still more to come down to,
Yeah.
actually.
But if we just take this no kind of spot part of the park, it solves us with your, you know, you got a bigger situation you're dealing with, but it solves the tree issues
Yeah.
with this situation.
So as far as Nick and the site review committee is concerned, you have our blessing. I think that's fair to say.
The tree greenery sign off.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what we need.
And that includes, is it appropriate to also, just approve that the plantings that will be. The 2 trees that will be replanted here. Are Sweetgum, so I know that, to save you maybe a trip back, because there is a condition to be met for planting in the right of way. That species reviewed by by the Trees and Greenery Committee. Is it appropriate to?
Make a package deal and say we've already.
Yeah, like, I just want to save you a trip back down to the community, just such a weird fruit with the sweet gum plantings after the sand structure. Yeah.
There's like 2 trees will go in after the project.
Correct, as all landscaping is done after.
We like what we see here, and then you're on your own.
Thanks so much.
That's right.
We were kind of running into that with proposed planting sites where, maybe in a year or two, so I've been working with David Fosis about their projects for the next few years, and if there's even a hint of something occurring, I'm like, well, I'm not gonna plant these trees here, because just like those two ginkgo that we had a hearing about, so well, let's just avoid that completely and do our homework and when they're done messing with that area for a while, so. Thank you.
Hi, Robbie. Okay, tree planting for the city's 400. And Deb raised a question about information on that. She talked to Stephanie Secord and we appointed direction of the city website, which I should have been. Well, I went on, but all it would take is just my email address at this point.
That's what, yeah, I was just wondering a couple things is, I dipped my toe into that project and lots of people in the city are very excited about this. They just want to know how to get a tree, what kind of tree they want to think about their space. So because people are stuck inside, they want to think about it now. So it's all great. And this is terrific. Stephanie brought it all together, all the work that you guys have been laying out, so it's great. It is problematic though on the Portsmouth400.org site. You have to go into news to see where should be thrown into signing up for this program. It's a little cryptic. So I think we have somebody that's working with you, Peter, from the 400th and.
Valerie.
Yeah, no, not Valerie, was another woman. that's been-
Jillian first.
Yes, it's been just connected just with us. It would be nice if they had a little bit more of a page that comes up at the 400th to direct you to the city site.
I don't know if we have any control over what goes on the 400th anniversary page. Is that something under our purview?
It's not on our purview.
No, but we could certainly have a conversation, just because people have been asking, and when I've gone to 2 talks, they have said, go to their site. And then you do go to their site and you can't really find the information that you want. So it'd just be easier for them to, and for us.
So Jillian Richmond is the 400 liaison.
No, she is a student. She's,
Stephanie's email.
well, that maybe, I don't believe that's correct. She's a student activist that's working with her sustainability committee at the high school and has reached out to do a day of action. I did not think that was a 400 committee liaison. It's more of a student activist liaison.
Oh, okay.
That was my understanding as well.
Stephanie says she's working with her and with Max to keep the communication channels connected. I just wonder
For that
why they
volunteer.
should be talking. to
She's a really nice young kid. She's a junior in high school,
Great.
daughter of a friend of mine. She's just, super kid.
Yeah,
So it's exciting to see that, the high school kids interested in doing stuff.
absolutely.
High school young adults, I should say.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's great.
I think it's just, Chloe, you guys have done a great job. This has just been amazing. Surprisingly though, many people do not go to the city website. I know it's crazy, but it happens all over this town. Peter has agreed if, to draft up a letter to the editor from the Trees and Greenery Committee, sort of bringing forth the information that we just were presented from Stephanie to kind of make it all concise. He might do a little historical walk. I don't know what he's gonna do, but
Based on Dick Adams.
based on Dick's historical drop off. So we can just kind of get in front of more messaging that far.
Sure, and I would encourage everybody to, that's for the city manager's office before that gets put out.
Absolutely.
You just need to make sure we're all being consistent.
That's why I did want to ask about, because, people went to the Women's City Club for this talk and then it came up to me and then I was sort of blindsided as being a tree and green ambassador. I was a little out of the loop. So I thought we all want to be in that. And I think it's also, that we should, as on our committee, we should encourage 5 or 6 people that we know to grow a tree. But I am interested is once you get into the Wood City site, you sign up on their email, everyone wants to know what happens next.
Sure, and I'd like to just clarify, there seems to be a continuing bit of confusion relative to resident activity associated with this. Residents would be given the tree to plant themselves. The city would not be going onto their properties planting the trees and maintaining it.
That's
So
what I'm
this is
telling
a
you.
volunteer, and I think there
Yes.
needs to be some clarifying language on the website, because one could read it as being a tree is going to be planted and that there's no participation from their side other than signing up.
Okay, I
That's actually part of this. Max is still planting city trees on city property.
Yeah, it was 200
Where
city
there were
trees.
200 trees as part of this, but maybe spreading the 2 of those apart could help answer some of the questions.
It's the way that I've been messaging is
Yeah.
that I, and I said that, and Claire, tell me if this is right. That the cities had to get another water tank to be able to accommodate this project and how great is that? Is that true, Peter?
That is true. We're
Yeah.
gearing up. This is going to be a significant undertaking. It's going to stretch our resources.
It certainly is.
It's going to take away from other initiatives that Max and crew are going to be working on, but this is something that, we're committed to and we're moving forward with. So the Rotary has donated graciously some money towards that, so it helps offset costs associated with this. So.
Okay, that's good. That's what I understood. And I just want to make sure I'm telling people the
Yep.
correct
If
information.
those 200 sites can identify.
I think I have like 196. So so it's coming up.
Would there be any way that we could, you could share that? Is that too hard?
Yeah,
I don't want
so
to encumber you. I'm curious.
Yeah, so historically, right, so I think what I'm going to try to do is get that information to maybe one of the secretaries at DPW to send out letters so that those homeowners whose right of way is right there in the front, so they would be able to say no, or whatever the case is, then I would have to adjust and find additional spots. What happened in years past when this has happened, either people don't respond to the letter and we take that as
Yes.
a yes, and the day of planting arrives and we go and plant the tree and the homeowner comes out and says, I don't want this tree. So it's a little bit of an issue that we're trying to grapple with a little. So that's currently what the pipeline looks like at this point in time. And once I have that list locked in, I'll be happy to share it.
You targeting specific.
Honestly, I initially tried that. So a lot of replantings in over at Bohenko Park. A lot of those have either failed, so that Market Street,
Anyway,
Greenway, Gateway, so we have quite a few trees going back into that area. And yeah, really, we're kind of all over the place, to be completely honest with you. So no one particular neighborhood is getting an incredible amount of trees, but
Are we, I think Peter and we talked some time ago about targeting some, our Portsmouth Authority housing neighborhoods.
Was that- I was under the impression that was going to be through the initiative at the Urban Forestry Center. Is that consistent with
Beaches,
the?
so we, you know,
No, it's a,
we need to be careful about where we're planting trees. To ensure that we're planting on, you know, city property. There are a number of Portsmouth Housing Authority properties that are city properties that they just have 100-year leases associated with them. So, you know, Lafayette School is one, this, Connors Cottage is another. So there are opportunities to do that. You know, Max, you know, and I will reach out to Mark Lentz, who's their facilities manager for PHA.
okay,
You know, one of the things that we wanted to make sure we did outreach on was, you know, having folks at places like Wampsett Place or Gossamer Meadows be able to adopt trees as well. And but the intent of that was that they would come and get the tree, plant it, have an association. Their group would do that, not our group on that. So
Okay. all right. And that leads me to think about I know I have some friends who live in apartments and they might like to underwrite a tree. Do we know what kind are these trees? How much are they to citizens? Where are we with that?
the 200 trees are free.
Right, but I mean, for to citizens?
Yes.
I thought you were charging $40 a tree.
No.
Well, this fundraising,
That's fine.
Rotary in the city, you know, Rotary is paying for these trees, we're picking up some of the supplies, we'll have, you know, sort of check out kind of groceries for the thing, get your tree, get your mulch, get some soil, whatever else. We're shooting for end of March or early April, so you would talk to me about Earth Day and everything else. Keep it separate from all those.
okay,
The goal is to, you know, get the trees to my place and get them out as fast as we can. Because the longer they hang around, you know, trees walk off, trees have issues, you know, critters, you know, all these kind of things. We're not set up as a nursery, so in our front yard.
okay,
So we're gonna set this whole thing up like a yard sale and try to, you know, move everybody out. We don't have a date yet. We're keeping those dates, you know, all my Saturdays are open and actually, just because everything's based on the shipping. So when they start digging, they start shipping, Beth and I will know more and we'll tighten, you know, that kind of stuff down. Hopefully we'll have at least a couple week window. But spring happens real fast and this was Oregon, Washington, wherever it is out there. If spring happens real fast, then, you know, spring happens real fast for us as well.
And you would like us on board that whenever this.
Ideally, that time frame, you know, trucks gonna arrive, so, you know, next time we know when the trucks come in,
Okay,
sometimes they show up a little after 4 o'clock. Like 10 at night, because the guy's been driving for, you know, 3,000 plus miles,
you want us to come at 10 at night?
who knows?
Okay.
Be ready.
We'll do it.
so we should just block off the end of March and till mid-April.
And just, you know, but we'll be realistic that, you know, we're gonna put the call out, hey, the guy's 24 hours out,
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
Or, you know, they call you when they're in New York and, you know, they get in. So the truck has to be unloaded, whenever they show up, it's getting unloaded.
okay,
So my staff is already well aware of this as well. And, you know, it's piecemeal,
Yeah.
you know, it's not heavy, it's not hard, but one person, it's gonna take a long time.
it's
Having other people goes fast.
Yeah.
So we'll put all these trees out and lay them out at our place. But that timing backs us up that, you know, we know the truck's coming Wednesday, Thursday. Within 2 Saturdays from then will be our, you know, time to, we're gonna get these up.
Yeah.
Have you been able to identify, I know the species, I know that
We had a half dozen species, you know, we had 5 species initially.
Right.
Those didn't come in, so we added to that list. So we've got about 10 species on that list that we're reserving holding spots for.
but until they show up,
Until they get dug out of the ground.
We won't reserve until we know what we have.
Because some of our species get shot right down. But it's based on them going out in the fields in the fall, looking around, being like, okay, these aren't gonna be big enough. These are gonna have deer damage, these are gonna have, you know, whatever damage they have, they're just giving a good estimate.
okay, so the species will be basically identified when they show up.
Once they ship, once they pack.
And then will, and you guys will then work with the citizens to say sunny,
Yes,
big, little, shady, you will guide them as people start, because I know some people are looking around the yards, they only have so much space and they're trying to figure out.
if we have trees, at least on our wish list, we have trees in the whole sort of spectrum. We put some non redwoods in there, we put some swamp white oaks in there. I think we have sweet gum, we have thornbeam, yeah,
Have your list.
there we go, perfect. So I know, we try to hit the whole gamut, fit into spaces, whatever they're looking for. And, we put in for one version of Don Redwood, we make it, 200 of a different version of Don Redwood, so we're gonna just work with what's available.
So we gotta be full.
And I think to that end, once we have that 24-hour notice, or once we have that week window, we'll organize and get Stephanie on board, because that email, when people sign up, they're signing up to be notified when this will occur, and she'll do her press release, and she'll get that out to everyone who's registered to plant a tree. So
Right.
that will all sort of kick into motion and hopefully get that out to as many people as possible who were initially interested.
And that'll be closer to the event. Is there any, I think that some people have been having, they put their email in and it just, they don't know what to do. And they're just, could there be a little follow-up to that email saying, this is the current plan?
What happens when you send it in?
Nothing. You just dump it in your
Just
little
re-voice it.
box at the city site and nothing happens.
So, just that, hey, we got you.
Yeah, I
Get
can,
your
And
email.
these are the targeted times. That would-
End of March, early April, we'll be in touch.
Yeah, if we could have just a return,
yeah, I can.
I love
It's in my spot.
perfect, that's all. Yeah, that's wonderful.
It's a
Okay,
great learning experience.
it certainly is.
Start to finish.
We try to keep the species list pretty tight, just because we don't want any disappointments.
Yes.
Something is not gonna be available, it's just gonna happen. Our own nursery is sold out of almost everything they have. I'm trying to get seedlings for our projects, and I was being told no. That's 500,000 seedlings.
So we're tied up with that, so I wanted to go on and just talk about, I know that Earth Day is, some initiatives are happening and DPW's jumping in on Earth Day. The
Sure.
21st and 22nd.
Every day's Earth Day, yes.
Find good resources that you guys have, and maybe we'll talk next month about that. When it be
Sure, that'd be great.
the Trees and Greenery Committee would like to go to that kind of a symposium that's being held at the Connie Bean Center. Maybe we would, an arborist, maybe, I don't know, be something to highlight. It's on the 20th and 21st,
Yeah, Brian,
Earth Day is.
yeah,
And they're doing a collaborative with the library, they're partnering with the library. This is the Portsmouth Climate Action Group, Sustainability Group.
right, yeah, so that's not DPW.
Okay, not
That's not DPW,
I
however,
will tell my good source that that's wrong.
well, I know Brian Getz is planning on having some involvement relative to water resources. So that's typically, we go for that, sometimes massive group. Trees, we do stuff like that.
Would that be
Organic.
possible?
We are understaffed and driven by a lot of things right now, and I'm not committing to anything.
Okay,
Yes, we would love to do these things, but we're stretched.
I mean,
That's it.
yeah, I do not want to commit to anything.
would
For that time of year.
having a space, would that be appropriate? Trees and
Committee can
greenery?
decide what they would like to do on that. I have no issue with that. If you're looking for us to staff it,
No,
I will, I'm gonna say a solid no.
no. Peter will go, I can't talk with you.
Volunteer Dick and.
I'll-
Yeah.
You know, shop. Okay, well, it has something that's come across my desk of people asking if we might be involved and at least share what goes on, because I'm so enthusiastic to share things with people. And the last thing is that I just had queries about was about Arbor Day. It's because we're doing the 200th, is Arbor Day going to be a little on the low down?
I mean, there will
Just
be,
wondering.
I believe we have to, we do have to have a proclamation. Aside from that sort of ceremony, I currently don't have anything planned. other than the 200 trees we're planting within that couple
I
week
think that's
period.
good.
So, yeah, so certainly a proclamation. Aside from that, nothing else currently in the works, but always open to ideas as they come up, so.
That's it for me.
Any polls on old business? Has the contract been awarded for the sidewalks? And when
Yes,
started?
let's see. Yes, probably April,
Come in on
Lyman Brothers, that came in under about a little bit. Yeah. So that's moving forward, we're also gonna add some.
And then
out
this
there as
will
well,
in April.
so yeah, so that's a positive.
Any other old and new business? Just on the attendance list. I sent a draft of it around, so last year we had some questions about it. And the list didn't, and I think Joanna's, I'm assuming still with us, but Joanna's name wasn't on there. And I realized that city arborist should be listed on the committee. And I looked at the ordinance. There is hereby established a trees and greenery committee. Committee shall consist of 10 voting members, including the following: a city council, city manager or designate, the tree warden or designate, public works foreman in charge of tree or designate. So Peter is in there, somebody.
I am the tree warden.
You are, I thought
I
Max was-
no, I'm the tree warden.
You are the tree warden.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I speak for the trees.
He really enjoys.
So Max is somebody's designate and city manager is. But anyway, Max should be on the list here. So I'm going to add him, and Joanna will be added. And so far, Deb and Michael had perfect attendance. Deb,
It's yours.
Virginia. So,
Does zooming count?
and yes, it does. I'm saying nobody was unexcused, so I'm inclined to say everybody had perfect attendance. I don't mean to slight Michael and Deb, who had
100%.
really perfect attendance, but
Of course this year.
A pluses for them.
yeah.
Yes.
So, and the other thing, the governance committee, having a meeting at 10 a.m. here on the 13th, I think it's Monday. And they're interested in running this committee, or people in this committee, so I'm just planning to attend if anybody else is.
Where is that?
It's Monday, the 13th at 10 a.m. in conference room A to discuss potential strategic planning around open spaces / parks within the city. Committee has spent the last several months discussing concept of a parks committee, gathering information from city staff. This point, the committee would love to host members of several other committees with direct experience in handling different aspects of parks for the city of Portsmouth. That's next Monday. Yes,
Day after the Super Bowl.
yes.
Are you
It's
gonna-
10
are you planning a ranger?
It's 10 o'clock. I think you could probably crawl out.
I didn't realize you were such a rabid
This-
sports fan.
I'm not, but the Eagles are playing.
I'll come in your stead.
Just to kind of forward. You know, the information relative to that, the governance committee has been investigating or exploring the creation of an additional committee. Which I discouraged. I felt that there was already adequate coverage from Free and Greenery, from the Recreation Board. That open spaces has a voice, it's just a matter of working on focusing it. So that it's clear that participation from the various committees. Understands their charges. Sometimes having additional committees does not help clarify things, can make it more challenging. So that was just the backstory, that was part of the discussion.
Okay.
So we take your vote as Two of the committees may be better than many, which I think any here.
Probably just communicating between committees, some people.
Well, it just becomes challenging when there's a lot of overlapping kind of jurisdictions, you know, and then it becomes, did you include everybody, you know, even. This becomes very challenging from an operational standpoint. So that's why I try to keep focus. You know, the public process is very important, making sure that, you know, people advocate for open spaces is very important. So.
I do have a bit of new business as well. Behind me is Aaron Gilman. He is the new arborist technician for DPW here. Started on Monday, so I know we all met outside this morning when we were locked out, but just wanted to address it. He's been here. So
Why don't you come up to the.
yeah, come on up.
So everything. I'm Aaron, I come from the private industry. I work for Bartlett Tree Experts down in Beverly Pass for 3 years. I graduated from the University of Vermont with a bachelor's degree in wildlife and fisheries biology, and I have a minor in forestry. I'm also an Army veteran. I just got back from deployment this past year.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, and I bought my first house down in Kensington. Yeah.
Wow.
Those-
You did your homework.
No. What's that? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Lucky us.
Well,
Thank you.
So you will be the guy in the field, interfaces with citizens.
Aaron will be quite a bit.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Oh, good luck. I hope you enjoy your job.
Thank you. Forward to it.
get some seedlings from linden trees over. Are you aware of those?
The linden seedlings?
Over,
Kensington?
yes. Do a little research.
Okay.
No, look, I'm actually curious. Would you wanna allude to it a
When
little
the
bit more?
Declaration of Independence was signed, one of the signers from Pennsylvania, who was an arborist, collected tree species from all over the world. And he gifted those to every one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence. Thereby, the horse chestnut tree on the Market Street extension, which is the largest of its species in the country, was a gift that
From an arborist.
William Whipple accepted that as a gift.
Yeah.
Joshua Bartlett chose the linden tree. And they were planted on his property over in Kensington.
Wow.
So start getting some seedlings.
Yeah.
This is really neat.
That's awesome. They highly sought it. Illinois Stephen Thornton chose the tree. He would have been the other signer from the.
We're actually trying to start a program to collect seeds or nuts or whatever from the biggest of the big trees in New Hampshire. And try to regrow those.
And he's a very chestnuts.
Well, I probably have a copper beech that's probably on par with the largest in this part of New Hampshire. It's in my backyard. That's the reason I bought the house. So.
I think the state record is on.
Yes, it is.
It's a little bit,
Went down on the Sonic Temple Park.
Yeah,
like come down and what's the one that.
the Haven Park one we've been. endorsing for a while, but that's declining.
They took down behind the old library. Those two big ones behind the old library.
Oh, yeah.
Was that also because, was there a bit of a storm that happened before my time, but that was
The top broke
storm
out.
damage, right? Yeah,
Top broke out one of them, and the other one was in pretty tough shape. Those came up longer.
Well. I'll make a motion to.
I'll
That's
second.
it. Everyone is in favor. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They have a great weekend.
Thanks,
Is that
Mr. Mayor.
or was it gun?
I think it's down.
Oh, okay.
Joanna,
I
thank
know
you.
that there's all through that neighborhood. I don't know.
16 in the city.